Game of Thrones is forever going to be a controversial show in various ways, not the least of which was how it depicted certain characters, for better and for worse, and how the show's final season wrapped things up, for worse and a whole lot worse. But one thing that honestly gets lost in the midst at times, due to time skips, fast traveling, and the aging of the actors themselves, is that of how old the characters are supposed to be. Some are meant to be young throughout the show, and others are older than you realize. So allow us to show you Game of Thrones from oldest to youngest. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Melisandre. Most onlookers would probably put Melisandre at a good-looking 40, until she takes her jewelry off. Melisandre's age is left deliberately vague in order to maintain the aura of mystery surrounding the character. But actress Carice Van Houten has confirmed that her Red Witch is over 100 years old, with Benioff and Weiss going further by claiming she's been around for several centuries. More specific details about Melisandre's anti-aging regime are yet to be unearthed, but she's most likely the oldest character in Game of Thrones after the Night King. And we're not even going to try and tackle that guy's age. Davos Seaworth. Davos Seaworth is one of the most age-accurate characters on Game of Thrones in terms of the actor playing them. A rare combination of wise and moral, Davos is 49 when first serving as Stannis Baratheon's right-hand man, and 56 when serving as Master of Ships to King Bran, which closely mirrors the age of actor Liam Cunningham. Davos's age in the books is trickier to pin down. Ned and Catelyn Stark. Even with Ned and Catelyn Stark, aged up from their original A Song of Ice and Fire characters, producers still hired slightly older characters, perhaps to amplify the duo's defining parental qualities. Ned is in his mid-30s in the books, but Sean Bean was over 50 when playing the character in Game of Thrones Season 1. Live-action Ned is supposedly 40 to 41, making Bean's casting a little more believable. Catelyn's age is somewhat ambiguous, but she was born roughly around the same time as Ned in the books, and nothing suggests otherwise on TV. Since Michelle Fairley is younger than Bean, her age more accurately represents her character. Funnily enough, one of the biggest changes in the early seasons featured Ned and Catelyn's relationship. She was on good terms with Ned despite what was going on with Jon, and yet in the books, less so. But the showrunners wanted to make you care about both of them and see Catelyn as a sympathetic figure in Season 2, after the loss of Ned, and so they made that change there. The Hound. And now, the winner of the Best Death in the Franchise award, The Hound. Thanks to his ragged appearance and facial scarring, Game of Thrones fans might be surprised to know that Sandor Clegane is only 35 or so when the series begins, aging to around 42 over the course of the story. Part of the assumption that the Hound would be older might come from actor Rory McCann being 49 when the final season of the HBO series aired. As is typical, the original version of the Fireshy Warrior was a little younger, in his late 20s. It was better this way, as it made him more weary in certain circumstances, and thus came off as parental when he was looking after Sansa and then Arya. Jaime and Cersei. Come on, why wouldn't we put them together? Both Jaime and Cersei Lannister are 35 and 36 as the Game of Thrones kicks off, reaching 43 by the final season, and presumably enjoying extravagant 40th birthday parties in between incestuous romps and repelling angry northerners. Jaime and Cersei's ages are some of the least problematic on Game of Thrones, with Lena Headey very close to her character's age and Nikolai Coster-Waldau looking younger than his years. They started the show together, and they literally ended in the show together, so there's a nice symmetry there, wouldn't you say? Brienne of Tarth. Brienne of Tarth represents one of the biggest age jumps from book to TV show, with the original version of the character a mere 17 years old at the start of A Song of Ice and Fire. Scarily, this means she isn't even at her physical peak in Martin's narrative. In HBO's Game of Thrones, Brienne's age is brought closer to Gwendolyn Christie, who portrays the loyal knight on TV. Brienne is 32 during her first appearance, and 39 at the Battle of Winterfell. Personally, we're glad they aged her up. Christy was one of the best parts of the show. Period. Tyrion Lannister. Tyrion's age is one of the more confounding among Game of Thrones' leading cast members, because the character is confirmed to be the youngest of the Lannister children. But Peter Dinklage is older than both Lena Headey and Nikolai Coster-Waldau. Adding an extra layer of complication, Tyrion on screen is around 6 to 8 years older than his literary counterpart. By the end of Game of Thrones, Tyrion is nearing 40, but Dinklage himself is virtually a full decade older. Littlefinger. The whole point of Peter Littlefinger Baelish as a character is that no one can ever quite tell when the man is telling the truth, and this extends to his own age. Littlefinger references his childhood on Game of Thrones, but it's hard to tell whether he's just spinning a yarn to court favor with others. Baelish is 30 in the novels, give or take a year, but is likely a little older on TV to bring him in line with Catelyn, whom he desired throughout his life. Samwell Tarly. Although everyone's favorite stepdad and apprentice master often lingers in the shadow of his heroic best friend, Samwell Tarly is actually a touch older than Jon Snow, beginning Game of Thrones on the cusp of adulthood at 17 or 18 and winding up around 25 years old by the final episode. John Bradley, the actor behind Samwell, is 5 years older than his character in Westeros, but the difference is barely noticeable. Jon Snow. A classic case of actors playing younger, Kit Harington's Jon Snow is 16 when Game of Thrones begins. Around 7 years pass over the course of the TV series, which means Jon would be in his mid-20s by the time of the series finale, which the now 34-year-old Harington can just about get away with. Clearly, knowing nothing and saying "I don't want it" isn't good for the skin. Jon, in Martin's original books, is a couple of years younger still. Joffrey. Arguably the most detestable villain in Game of Thrones, although Ramsay Bolton runs him close, Joffrey is surprisingly young for such a devious troublemaker in Martin's books, a mere 12 years old. On screen, Joffrey is quite a bit older, beginning Season 1 at 16 and dying around the 20 mark. Like the other young actors, Jack Gleeson was a few years older than Joffrey when portraying the young Lannister king. Unlike the Stark children, however, Joffrey's spoiled personality and immaturity may lead viewers to believe the character is actually younger than intended. Though, to be clear, unlike his character, Jack Gleeson was known on set to be a delightful person who made everyone happy to be there. Oh, the irony. The Stark kids. To save time, we'll bundle the important kids together, okay? With puberty stubbornly refusing to accommodate TV production schedules, the ages of the various Stark children are a little more flexible than most on Game of Thrones. Sansa is 13 when the series begins, and 20 when it ends. Arya is 11 at the start, and 18 at the end, and Bran is 1 year younger than Arya. The Stark family's adopted child, Theon Greyjoy, is roughly the same age as Jon, and Robb is supposed to be around 19 or 20 when he dies at his wedding. Most of the Stark kids are 2 years younger in the books, but the actors are a few years older, particularly in later seasons. Not surprisingly, the one who easily pulls off the younger look is Arya's actress, Maisie Williams, while Bran, the Broken, looks way older by the end. Daenerys Targaryen. The relative ages of Daenerys Targaryen closely mirror those of Jon Snow, although Emilia Clarke's character in the novels was 13 at the story's beginning. The Mad Queen is aged by a few years in order to make her romantic and naked exploits less creepy. Probably for the best, you know? Daenerys is the same age as Jon in the Game of Thrones series, give or take a few months. And this matches the actor and actress, with Clarke born only 2 months before Harington. Still, their relationship in the show was them making love despite being aunt and nephew, so we can't really get rid of that creepiness, but oh well. So, what do you think? What do you think of this look at the characters of Game of Thrones, and how they are supposed to be age-wise, if not looks-wise? Are you stunned by how old or how young many of them are supposed to be? Which character do you think honestly pulls off the age of their character? Let us know in the comment section below. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the channel.